Alan, really good to see you. Let's talk about the main deal of the day. It's finally done. Wesley Fofana is now a Chelsea man. It's a huge amount of money. It's a big contract in terms of years, a 7-year deal as well. I guess the key question is he worth it?
Well, he's 21, Simon, isn't he? So he's going to have a big resale value if indeed he does well at Chelsea in a few years' time. He's one of the best central defenders about. He's still got a lot of improving to do. I mean, he's made great strides at Leicester over the time he was at the King Power. A blow to my old team, obviously, but it's a lot of money to turn down. Yeah, I think Thomas Tuchel has acquired one of the best young central defenders around.
Players make moves. Yes, fans want to know what they're thinking, but silence is golden. But he's chosen to be quite open about how he sees things in terms of how the last few weeks at Leicester have been handled. You were listening in to what he's had to say on social media today. Do you think he's handled it in the right way, or might he been better just to keep stum?
Yeah, some players handle it in a certain way. I know Brendan Rodgers cited Harry Maguire, didn't he, and how he handled his move to Manchester United, said it was impeccable. He's a young lad, Fofana. He's obviously got his agent in his ear, advising him the approach to take. You would imagine that's the case anyway. And he's gone down that path. He will argue that the ends justify the means. He might not get a great reception back at Leicester when he returns, but not many players do. He's got the deal, the contract, and the club that he wanted. And that's modern-day football, Simon. That happens, doesn't it? Increasingly so these days.
Yeah, it does, and it provides lots of entertainment for us, that is for sure. In terms of Chelsea's defence this season, it's not been brilliant. They've conceded the 5th highest number of goals this season. Was it absolutely key that they strengthened in this particular area?
I think so. I mean, Thomas Tuchel, since arriving at Chelsea last season, he had a great defensive record. They gave very little away. Obviously, Rudiger's gone, Christensen's gone, 2/3 of that back three. Interestingly, he went to a back four at Southampton last night, which isn't really Tuchel, but I think he'll go back to that three with Fofana. So with Koulibaly, Thiago Silva, he's got a couple of very talented partners at the centre of that defence, and Tuchel will be hoping they can get back to how they were last season, being very mean-spirited at the back. He said it last night, they're too easy to play against. You don't have to be very good to beat them at the moment. And that's a big contrast to how they were last season.
It'd be fair to say, Alan, things have changed slightly since you made the move from Leicester to Arsenal back in the late 80s. I think the fee around then was about £850,000. We're talking
bargain.
It was a bargain. £70 million, though, for Fofana. And we have seen other Premier League players, the likes of Maguire and Grealish, Lukaku, are obvious ones to mention right now. Why do you think players do sometimes struggle when they have that huge figure around their necks when they make such a headline move?
Well, yeah, I mean, it can hang around their necks, can't it? It's a mindset, really. There's the expectation there from the fans, from the media, for somebody that's cost that much money to hit the ground running. You know, with those players you mentioned, Simon Grealish, it was an average debut season. You'd be expecting a lot more this term from him once they get the feet under the table and kind of move away from that transfer fee a little bit. You know, in the second season, people aren't talking about it as much, and they can perhaps just relax a little out on the pitch. You know, you look into the psychology of players, how they are as people, their temperaments, and you're hoping that even though he's only 21, he'll be okay. Coming down to London, he's a big change as well, different environment. But they'll be hoping, yeah, he can handle it over time.
Manchester City, let's just get your thoughts on that, because they've signed a centre-back as well today, Manuel Akanji from Dortmund. There's no doubt about it. They've got the firepower. 13 goals already so far this season. Haaland with a hat-trick at the weekend. Was this an area that Guardiola needs to focus on and bolster?
Well, yeah, he obviously thought so. And also maybe the results at the start of this season pointed to that. Managers, although they have long-term plans and, you know, from a long way out, who we're going to buy this coming summer, talks with their recruitment department. But sometimes results spur you into action, and they were a little bit leaky, weren't they? Unusually conceding goals that they hadn't previously. So he's jumped in there. Akanji, is he one that they got their eye on for the last year or so? I don't know. I've seen him play for Switzerland on a number of occasions. He's obviously an experienced boy, a bit more experienced than Fofana's got. But yeah, they clearly felt that they needed a bit more quality at the heart of that defence.
And Alan, back now to Chelsea. This is the nature of the day before the transfer window closes. There's still interest in signing Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. I mean, obviously, you've heard the news of what's happened to him personally, which is just utterly awful. But for Chelsea, how important is it that they sign a striker? And is this the man they need?
I couldn't tell you whether it's the man they need. I'm not entirely sure that it would be. It would be a short-term fix, I think. Obviously, he went over to Barcelona and scored some goals initially. But you're talking about a player that continually broke the rules at Arsenal, and that makes you wonder about his attitude. Do they want to be signing somebody of that nature at this stage in his career? I don't know. I mean, I was looking at Armando Broja coming on at Southampton last night, and he's a young lad of great potential, I think. Might he be worth nurturing and giving a little bit more game time to gradually, rather than bringing somebody in like Aubameyang, whose hunger perhaps isn't as keen as it once was, and certainly not as keen as Broja's. So, yeah, fascinating to see how that one pans out.
There's lots of ifs as we head into tomorrow. You mentioned your old club Arsenal a moment ago. They do remain interested in Yerry Tielemans from your old club Leicester City. Leicester prepared to carry on listening to offers for him. Can you see that deal getting over the line?
Well, I think they've been interested in him for a long, long time now, Simon. And I was actually thinking at the start of the window that the deal would be done fairly quickly. Maybe it's just down to money, as it quite often is. But Arsenal are short in that area. Obviously, Thomas Partey's got himself injured. His injury record's not been the best since arriving at Arsenal. And then he's picked up a knock. So they are short. Thankfully, Zinchenko can move into there once he's fit again, because he missed the last game, didn't he? But he's a quality player, Tielemans. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, last season at Leicester, like a lot of players, it was flat for him. Maybe he had half an eye elsewhere, but we've seen over the last few seasons what he can do. He's not somebody you'd who you describe as being a holding midfielder, but he's got great energy, vision. Obviously, he knows where the goal is, and that would be a coup for Arsenal to bring him into the club. I really think that a central midfielder at a time when that is the one department I think where they are a little short.
Let's have a little touch on Leicester City. We mentioned right at the top. I mean, they're in a horrible run of early form in the Premier League. 3 defeats in a row. They sit bottom of the pile at the moment. Fofana's now gone. We talk about Tielemans being another potential player to be heading out of the door at Leicester City. How worried are you about where your former club now find themselves?
Yeah, it must be a big worry for everybody associated with the club. I've been as delighted as any, really, to see how they kicked on, really, from that miracle title win in 2016. You know, they didn't turn back into Clark Kent after being Superman. You know, they retained their standards to a certain extent, and they were pushing in that top half of the table, qualifying for Europe, and they built on that title win. The last thing you would want to see now is for that, to seep away, and for the thing is, when you start losing your best players, Simon, the dressing room, all of a sudden people are nudging each other, having little conversations in the corner there. Is this the place that I want to be? The agents are telling them about certain other clubs that might want them. And all of a sudden, the club loses that attractiveness, that mojo. Previously, Leicester have had a fantastic record in signing players, haven't they? Fofana being one of them, and N'Golo Kanté. You could go on and on. They've plucked some gems, but that's increasingly difficult to do, and especially if you're Leicester now, where the future looks uncertain. And for Brendan Rodgers, he must be a worried man.
Wouldn't be a transfer chat without mentioning Cristiano Ronaldo, who's been mentioned pretty much every day for the entire window. But we heard from Erik ten Hag today. He confirmed that, as far as he's concerned, Ronaldo is staying at the club. But can we envisage Perhaps one more potential twist before tomorrow's done?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, the fact that Ten Hag said that, maybe thinking, well, there's no offer that's come in that the player's interested in or we're interested in, but who knows? On deadline day, we've seen it so often. A club to Ronaldo's liking and the club's liking might come in and he could be off. It's not ideal for anybody, certainly not Ten Hag, trying to build things at United, getting happy players, keen, hungry players in that dressing room who want to represent the club. So if he could, I'm sure he'd like to offload Ronaldo. The question, he's not in his first choice 11, I don't think. How is the player going to handle that on a day-to-day basis, on the training ground, in the canteen afterwards? Is he going to have a face on? Is that going to, affect anybody else within that dressing room? These are things that managers, particularly modern-day managers, have to deal with now. But Ronaldo, being one of the famous players that have ever lived, one of the best players that have ever lived, it's particularly acute situation. So it's going to be fascinating if he does stay, to see how that pans out, see how Ten Hag handles him on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis in terms of putting him in the team.
And one of the other things that Ten Hag did say today, Alan, was that he confirmed that once the deals for Antony and Martin Dubravka are over the line, there's not going to be any more signings. In terms of the business they've done overall, how satisfied should United fans be?
I think at the moment they'll be optimistic, won't they? With Antony obviously coming in, giving them more options on the flank. Casemiro, tried and trusted, multiple Champions League winner. I mean, how much they've paid for these people is another matter entirely, isn't it? I mean, Casemiro at 30 signing a 5-year contract. Antony, 60, 70 million pounds. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Is it panic buying to a certain extent? Are they shooting from the hip? I think you've got to take that impression after all the players that they've been linked with over the summer. It's not exactly been an organised recruitment policy. That's not to say it can't come off, but yeah, I think watch this space. They've paid an awful lot of money to get some bodies in and to maybe increase the optimism that was lacking. And they've got it to a certain extent, but that can only continue with results, with wins.
Alan, always good to speak to you. Thanks ever so much.